Welcome back to my YouTube channel, the most amazing sex channel in all of YouTube if you ask me. Today we are going over more Reddit sex questions. I'm going to answer all these Reddit sex questions for you guys in case some of you may have similar questions or just want my input on some of these crazy things, crazy topics. So let's jump right into it with the first Reddit sex question. Alright, so this is coming from a lady. No oral is a deal breaker for... Did I even say any words there? No oral is a deal breaker for me. Can you give me some examples of ways I can let prospective partners know this? So, they're looking for other women who they need oral, and if you don't perform oral on them, it's a deal breaker, and they're never going to date you ever again, or I guess not at all if they're prospective sex partners. Anyway, how do you let prospective... whatever, I can't say any words this video. How do you let prospective sex... Oh my gosh. How do you let prospective sex partners know this? Well, you tell them. You say, you know what? I really like oral sex. Do you like oral sex? Do you like performing oral sex? If you don't like performing oral sex, then we might not be sexually compatible. In so many words, you can say that, and then your prospective sex partner is going to be like, this girl's crazy. She's talking about sex right away on the first date, and that's pretty awesome. So maybe you should go into that conversation with a little bit more tact. Maybe you wait a couple dates down the line before you have sex. Bring up that topic and talk about it. You know, you shouldn't ignore talking about sex with your prospective sexual partners, especially if you are sleeping with someone continually. Then definitely you should have already talked about sex. Why haven't you? You should get to know your partner sexually, and the only way you're going to really get to know them is through communication. So through sex, you can sometimes pick up on things they like, but if they don't tell you these things, then you don't really know. They're just kind of like educated guesses. So talk to your partner is the gist of this, and the answer to your question. Just talk to people. Alright, question number 2, one that a lot of us guys can really empathize with. And the question is, am I the only male who doesn't enjoy receiving oral sex? And he goes on further to say that it's okay, he just doesn't really do that much for him. And you're probably not the only one. There might be some people out here. Leave me a like if you don't like oral sex, and we'll see how many people like this video. Actually, just give me a like for any reason, because yeah, whatever, I need it, and it'll help the algorithm. It'll help more people see my videos, which would be cool. So yeah, just do that. Anyway, that's just your sexual preference, dude. It doesn't really matter. You can just tell your partner that you don't really like that much. If your partner really likes performing oral sex, then oops. At least you don't like dislike it. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. People will like different things. And I will say that there could be a mental component missing for you. So if you're going to the sex purely physically based, then you might think that it doesn't feel that great. But if you're extremely aroused, you're having some kind of dirty sex, playing out some fantasy where you're just gonna put your thing in their mouth and do oral, and there's some sort of psychological mode, some kind of psychological atmosphere to it, it might enhance that experience for you. So it could be two things. It could just be that, yeah, you just don't really like it, or there's a psychological component missing that would enhance it for you. And it also could be that your partner is not that good at doing it. And so a bunch of different reasons why you couldn't like it, but most likely it's just your preference. And a lot of people like a lot of different things. Some people like anal sex. Some people think it's like the worst thing of all time. So there you go. There's variety in everything, especially sex, which is why, going back to the first question, you should just talk to your partner, see what they like, see what they dislike, and then you can just do all those things, and it's easy. And then there's no guesswork. Then you don't have to perform oral when you don't want to or don't really have to. Question number 3. That is, fiance won't stop hinting the idea of a threesome. Okay, interesting. I am slowly opening up to the idea of having a threesome with my fiance. We have been joking about it for a while. I would not be opposed to doing it with a person we aren't close to, but he keeps joking about doing it with my girl best friend. If I send him a picture of us together or a video from the past, he will always joke about it. I have told him multiple times that it offends me, and that I need him to stop, but he won't. What do I do? I just wanted to highlight this comment down here. It says, suggest having a threesome with his best friend first. Which, yeah, that might actually be good advice. I doubt he's going to be so open to the idea of that. So this could be a couple things. It could be him kind of testing the waters. Being a fiance, that is a huge leap into marriage, and there are a lot of things in society that are telling you that marriage is tough, marriage is hard, marriage is terrible. So many people that are married say these things, that the sex declines and it's just awful, and you have to sleep with the same person over and over again forever. So I think for him it is somewhat of a mental experiment for him, and he's testing you and seeing what you'll respond to this, if you'll do it. I don't know if he actually wants the threesome. Maybe he does. That's a different story, but to me, I think he's testing the waters, to be honest, and seeing what your threshold is, what your boundaries are. And speaking of boundaries, you have to set them and say that you're not going to have a threesome, and that's ridiculous. And if that is something that he really wants, and he can't cope with the fact that you don't want that, then, to be honest, maybe you shouldn't be together, and maybe he shouldn't be leaping into marriage with you so soon without having experimented and tried those things. So it's all about communication. I mean, all these questions are so easily solved by just talking to your partner. But yes, set boundaries. The problem here is that no one talks about sex in their relationship, and it's so weird to me that no one talks about sex. And so if you actually do that with your partner, you will illuminate so many different things that you had no idea were going on in your partner's head, and it's just going to make your relationship so much better. So just do that, and it makes your relationship so much easier. I don't know why people don't. All right, question number 4. This is a really good one. Have you ever imagined effing someone else while having sex with your significant other? I had a conversation with friends about this topic, and they all find it normal to imagine other people they're attracted to while having sex with their partners. Is this thing common to you? If yes, why do you like doing that? I'll tell you why people like doing that. It is because the sex they are having, it is not psychologically engaging, it is not mentally engaging whatsoever. And so in order to find some sort of pleasure in the sex, because pleasure is psychologically driven, they are looking to imagine fantasies and keep their mind on something sexual, something that's arousing, something that's interesting, other than just the physical reaction that is happening. If you think about it, everything on our body, physically, that we touch, we get the feedback, right? And it is up to our brain to interpret it. It's the same thing with sex. We get that feedback, and it might feel good, it might feel bad, but it is up to our brain to interpret whether it is pleasurable, whether it is engaging, whether it's amazing, whether it's going to take us to an orgasm. And so if you don't have any psychological context to your sex, and it's just kind of bumping and grinding, and there's no thought, there's no immersion happening there, then your mind's going to wander, and in order to enjoy the sex more, yeah, maybe you might imagine different scenarios. It could be you're imagining different fetishes, it could be you're imagining completely different people, and that's not a good thing. What you can do to snap yourself out of this is start dirty talking, start being more present, express yourself more in the sex, and that will also encourage your partner to not do the same with you. It is probably a normal thing that people do, but it is not the right thing to do, and it is not a good thing to do. And if you have psychologically engaging sex with someone, you're not going to ever think about someone else while you're having that sex, because you're not going to have that mental headspace for it. You're going to be so immersed and engrossed in that sexual experience that there's no room for anyone else to intrude it and be there with you. So that's why it's common. That's why people do it. Should you do it? No, you shouldn't. I think it's kind of disrespectful to your partner. I also think if you were to put the shoe on a different foot and ask your partner if they're thinking about other people while you have sex, and they say yes they do, I think you would also be offended by that. So just make the sex more psychologically engaging by talking to your partner, being more expressive. Dirty talk is really the key to great sex, so just do that. Alright, question number 5, final Reddit question that I'm going to answer on this video. Would having cold hands be a turn-off with touching/fingering? So this is an interesting question, and I will say sometimes no, sometimes yes. if the stimulus is distracting enough, if the cold is cold enough to pull your partner out of the experience where they're now just feeling cold and they're feeling like the pleasure is gone now and they're like, what is that cold thing? Now they're not focused on the sex, they're not psychologically engaged in the sex, then yes, that's going to be a bad thing. If it's just cold and they're not really thinking about it and they're already aroused, maybe you've already turned them on to a certain degree where it's not going to be too stimulating, where it's a distraction, then you're fine. So you always have to find these kind of balances. It's the same concept if you like certain painful things in sex, like spanking or choking. You have to find that balance where the stimulus isn't too distracting, it's not too painful, where it actually pulls them out of the experience, and now they're just feeling the pain instead of the pleasure part. So it's all about balance. So if your hands are like ice cubes and it's like really bad and it's distracting, then yes, it's going to affect the sexual experience. You want to eliminate as many distractions really as you possibly can, and that's going to improve your sex life anyway, because that's going to allow your partner to be engaged and immersed in that experience for a longer period of time. And like I said in the last question, the more engaged, the more psychologically stimulating the sex is, the better quality it will be. So that about does it. I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, then leave me a like. Leave me a comment. You can ask me any questions down there, and I would be happy to answer them. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, coming back for more videos, and having some fun talking about sexual stuff. Who doesn't like doing that, right? Anyway, hope to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.